Tonight from Fort Worth, Texas, Big 12 baseball on ESPNU as two rivals go head-to-head. Deep in the heart of Texas, it's the Longhorns and Horned Frogs renewing their rivalry in Game 2 of their 3-game series from Lupton Stadium. A little Lupton magic last night for TCU to pull out the win. And in the Big 12, every win matters. 3 teams in the nation's top 25. TCU right now on the outside looking in. And with that, we welcome you to the broadcast booth. Tom Hart alongside the professor, Mike Rooney. Got to value every win you get in the Big 12.
Yeah, Tom, the league's never been deeper. And you look at the elite teams at the top. These are teams that are Omaha caliber, could win the whole thing. Great
brand names going head-to-head tonight. TCU, recent power. They've been to Omaha 5 times within the last decade. You come to expect them to end their season at the College World Series.
Yeah, Tom, you think about TCU, they've really become a national brand in college baseball. They go in 2010 for the first time, beating Texas, and then 4 straight trips to the promised land in college baseball in Omaha, Nebraska. Really remarkable what's been done here in Fort Worth. And it really started with the skipper, Jim Schlossnagle, the CEO and architect of this program.
He has built this program now in his 16th season here in Fort Worth and 5 College World Series appearances, the only in program history. And then there's Texas. Head coach David Pierce, the 5th full-time head coach for Texas since the early 1910s. And once again, they've made their mark on pitching.
Yeah, Texas, if TCU's a new brand, Texas is a historic brand in college baseball. And it's all about the arms. Tremendous pitching again this year. Really good young staff.
Austin Todd will bat 3rd for this Texas team. Is coming off of a 3-2 loss last night. For the Longhorns, the offense hasn't come around quite yet. 7th in the 19 Big 12 with a .246 average. Jake Eisler on the mound for TCU. Former reliever making his 3rd consecutive start, and his numbers are skewed by a poor start a couple of weeks ago, but he was magnificent as a guy who fills up the strike zone out of the bullpen. And his first pitch is a called strike to Duke Ellis.
This is Eisler, really important guy for TCU, Tom. Without Jared Janczak, they really need a 3rd starter to jump in here, and Eisler's really a great strike throw. He should be the guy.
Ellis had a couple of hits in the game last night as TCU pulled it out late, but Texas looked like they were in control. And strike 3 called. 3 pitches and 3 strikes to Duke Ellis from Jake Eisler.
Really not going to have a better start than that. 3 pitches and 3 strikes. You see Eisler out of Colorado just has been an outstanding reliever at TCU in his career. A big jump to the rotation. The fastball's up to 92. The slider is a really good secondary pitch. But does he throw too many strikes in a starting role where you get the big scouting reports against you?
Facing Eric Kennedy now, back-to-back lefties in this Texas Longhorns batting order. They'll throw 5 of them out there with the switch hitter Reynolds tonight. Kennedy tied for 2nd in the Big 12 in runs scored. And 95 just off the black, the first pitch to miss the strike zone from Eisler.
You could see Eisler just smothers the strike zone. Would not be surprised to see the Texas hitters get very aggressive early in the count. You know you're getting strikes from Eisler.
Kennedy spoils this one and puts it foul and out of play. Freshman from Tampa. His brothers Ben and Nick both played at Texas. Was a first-team All-American coming out of Calvary Christian last season. And it misses away. A lot of new faces for both of these teams. For TCU, mainly junior college transfers, but Texas, a ton of freshmen, including Kennedy. Up the middle, and it gets through for a base hit for Eric Kennedy. And that'll bring Austin Todd to the plate.
Kennedy, a guy they're really excited about. And you see Eisler right there. That's a 2-strike changeup. Maybe leaves it up just a little bit. Austin Todd missed most of last year with injury. This is really the most talented pure hitter in the Texas lineup.
Was the Big 12 Player of the Week 2 weeks ago. 6th in the conference in ribbies. Todd has been in the 3-hole all year for this Texas team. And had to deal with ligament damage in his thumb last season. In fact, early on, he missed a couple of weeks after injuring the thumb against LSU. So happy to have him healthy. Up and in 2-0.
That's the thing, Tom. You'll see batting averages for Texas that aren't great. It's really a result of their schedule. You've played Stanford, you've played Texas Tech, you've played LSU. Now you've played TCU. It's Texas. Their schedule has been absolutely ferocious.
They swept LSU to begin the month. That one almost took off the head of Zach Zubia in the on-deck circle. Here's what you're talking about with the Texas schedule.
That's a great schedule, Tom, if you're trying to lose your job, if you're David Pierce. Like that, what are we doing there? That's not a confidence-building schedule, but Texas has done a really nice job. I mean, again, for as young of a team as they have, so many new faces, to survive that schedule and really thrive in that schedule, that's very impressive.
Austin Todd was 2 for 4 last night, talking with David Pierce before the game about this Texas schedule. So the challenge is keeping the confidence up from a hitting perspective, or pitching for that matter. But when you face such great pitchers night in and night out with a schedule like that, you want to make sure that your hitters are comfortable at the plate.
Yeah, if you're David Pierce, the hitters come to the field every day saying, you're kidding, another guy 93 to 94. Thanks, coach.
Yeah.
Mix in a cupcake if you don't mind.
Pierce, just the 13th head coach in 124 years of Texas Longhorn baseball. And only the 5th full-time guy since 1911. How about that? 5 full-time coaches since then. Dish, Falk, Gus, and Augie.
And it was when Augie Garrido was, when Texas went to replace him, boy, that was a national search. It was a famous search and safe. But you know what's funny, in these first couple games, Tom, you could see David Pierce wants action. He wants to run and get it going.
Reached for and lifted to shallow left center. Reiser had a sensational highlight reel grab last night. #1 SportsCenter top 10 makes a routine play, 2 down. And that'll bring up the man he robbed of that would-be home run, Zach Zubia. Zubia, sophomore from Richmond, Texas, first team all-conference last year as a DH. He thought he had his 3rd home run of the season. Instead, Reiser brought it back, and I was talking with Zach before the game today. He said, you know, I got a hold of it. I knew it was over the fence, so I put my head down to run to first, and I said to myself, all right, don't do anything stupid. just be cool, act cool, touch 4, and we've added to our lead.
That's a buzzkill when you're thinking about your home run trot and really focused on it per those comments, and then next thing you know, you've made an out. Not great.
Kennedy is the runner at first with 2 down. Ball and a strike to Zubia. This is what it looked like last night. Top of the 4th in a tie game. Would have been a 2-run shot. Watch Johnny Reiser go Spider-Man. Took a chunk out of the outfield fence with his left foot. #1 on SportsCenter's top 10.
Not only the catch, Tom, but the ground he covered just to get there. Really, I mean, he was playing straight away in center field. Changed the complexion of that game, too. That was about to be 2-0 Texas and break it open a little bit.
Maybe that was the first taste of Lupton magic last night for TCU, because they got more of it in the 9th. This one's ripped to left field. Watson back towards the fence. Won't bring that one back. 2-run shot for Zach Zubia. About the one that was robbed last night, Zach shrugged his shoulders and said, you know what, that's happened to me too many times this season. I've hit a lot of them hard, but right at people. This one right over the fence.
Boy, he is so strong. Gets into this one, fastball middle in. That is one strong individual right there. And That one looked much less like a home run than the one last night. It's really a line drive that just got out of here.
Third home run on the season for Zubia. Came on a 2-1 fastball.
All right, now.
And now Ryan Reynolds at the plate in the first pitch strike.
Yeah, we talked about it. You hear the scouting report, Tom, on Eisler maybe throwing too many strikes, and gives up a 2-strike hit to Kennedy. And the Texas hitter's not uncomfortable because they know the ball is going to be around the dish.
94 around the dish.
The stuff's plenty good. You can see it's a good fastball. The slider's good.
20th pitch of the first inning is fouled off. We showed you that Texas schedule a moment ago, and of course a tough start to it in Big 12 play, but they took 2 out of 3 at home against a very good Texas Tech team that was in Omaha along with the Longhorns last season. Reynolds did not have a great series against the Red Raiders. He was 0 for 11. 1-2 now to Ryan Reynolds.
Well, you got a guy like Iso that throws let's say, too many strikes. That's a good problem to have. You can work from there.
Just off the plate inside. Is that his changeup?
Yeah, it looks like he overthrew his changeup at 87 miles an hour. But even that pitch there, Tom, I mean, you're trying to really throw an out pitch there, and that almost got a backwards K.
Breaking ball to the right side, picked up by Jake Genther. And that'll take care of the Longhorns, but not before Zach Zubia settles an old score. Takes a 2-1 fastball on a line over the wall and left. And Longhorns strike first with a pair of hits against Jake Eisler in the opening frame. Horned Frogs coming up.
Wendy's Biggie.
2-0 Texas on top of TCU as we go to the home half of the first inning in this long-standing rivalry. Look at the lineup for this TCU team, which leads the Big 12 in hitting. A .312 average as a squad with 19 home runs, and it seems like it's a different guy every night for TCU. Who's their most dangerous hitter in your opinion?
Yeah, I'd say Hunter Wolf is really the most important hitter right now because he's the speed option, and they would like to put some pressure on the Texas defense, which has struggled at times, and Wolf's his run tool is going to be the key.
So Blair Henley on the mound for the Texas Longhorns. 6'3" junior from right here in Fort Worth, was a 22nd round pick of the Yankees coming out of high school.
This is the veteran of the staff here. It's a good stuff. Fastball up to 93, a curveball with depth. Singular mistakes. That's been the trouble for Henley in the past, is this mistakes snowballing and not being able to minimize damage. But you'll see he is a very skilled pitcher.
Mention all the JUCO transfers for TCU. Hunter Wolf, the leadoff man, one of them. Played his JUCO ball at Walters State Community College in the mountains of East Tennessee. He's from Kingsport, Tennessee, not far away from there. Dobbins Bennett High School. And they're happy to have him back in the lineup. 19th round pick of the Royals last summer, and the pitch is in the dirt. And twice he's been drafted coming out of high school. The Pirates took him with their 12th round pick. He'd been bothered by a sprained ankle early, then a groin injury in the series against Long Beach State. And already 5 pitches into the opening at bat against Blair Henley is Hunter Wolf.
Well, you could see why he's been drafted. He's a dynamic athlete. Again, the best runner on this club. Tremendous defender. He's really probably a center fielder in professional baseball, but can play shortstop as well.
And he works a walk from Blair Henley, and that'll bring veteran Josh Watson to the plate. Watson, a senior out of Arlington High School, Arlington, Texas, and Martin High School. He's a great high school football player. Was a high school teammate of #1 pick Miles Garrett at Arlington Martin.
They were teammates in high school, you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, you could have a nice career. That's a little bit of a distraction on your roster. I mean, that's a good teammate to have, correct?
A lot of tackles if you're playing middle linebacker.
Right.
For Josh Watson, we got Myles Garrett on the edge.
TCU wants to run. You know, you've got a catcher in McCann who's really is the only guy that Texas has right now with the injury to DJ Petrinsky. Wolf is the guy to run for TCU. Best runner on the club. He's the guy to create action against McCann right there.
Took 97 for a strike, 2-1.
If you're going to go, this is the time to go. 2-1 count. Henley's got to address Watson here. You got a left-hander in the box, which makes it more difficult on the catcher. This is the pitch to go on.
Misses low. Henley went 7 innings, a season high in his last time out last weekend against Texas Tech, but he walked to season high 5. That was a 3-0 loss, the only loss for the Longhorns last week. To the right side, that'll get through. Headed to second is Wolf. He will stop there, and the Horned Frogs have 2 aboard with nobody out. So it sets the table for Alex Isola. One-year junior college ball for Isola, had 8 home runs and was first team all-conference. He started his college career at the University of Utah.
You know where Yavapai College is, Tom Hart?
I got no idea.
Prescott, Arizona.
Wow.
Pronounced Prescott, rhymes with biscuit. Don't say Prescott and out yourself, all right?
Prescott and Yavapai.
Correct. Well done. Teachable and coachable.
Tied for 4th in the conference with 4 home runs, and Isola looks at a breaking ball for a strike.
It's a slider at 88 miles an hour. Again, Henley's stuff is plenty good.
Right back to it, and another strike. 0-2. Since Yavapai is in your backyard in Prescott, what would you say that they're known for?
It's a mile high, so it's a good place to hit. Think Colorado Rockies.
3 of Isola's 4 home runs have come with runners in scoring position this season. He must love the elevation, starting his college career at Utah. Up in the Wasatch, and that one's in the dirt. 2-2.
Ken Giles, Blue Jays closer. Yavapai Rough Rider.
There you go. Oh, and that name seems to fit. Yavapai, right?
Yeah. Gary Ward, the Hall of Fame coach at Oklahoma State, coached at Yavapai at one point.
Wolf the runner at second, Watson behind him at first, and that one off of the ankle of Alex Isola.
Really is amazing. You look at TCU's lineup, it's 6 junior college players, and that's not something every coach wants to do. You want a nice blend of high school players and JUCO players, but for TCU, they've gotten crushed in the last 2 MLB drafts with their high school recruits. And these junior college players have immediately made them stronger and more athletic. Obviously, they're older kids. And it's a great way to restart your program after missing a regional last year.
They lost 7 high school players to the draft over the last 2 years. Talking with Jim Schlossnagel before the game today, he said, you know, really our average is 1 a year. But it seems to impact TCU more than others because of the cost of attendance here. So we can't reach down into our farm system. There is no AAA team. And it really emphasizes the importance of recruiting, not just recruiting, but also signability, which goes hand in hand.
That's the most unique thing about college baseball is you sign your recruiting class, and then all of those kids can be drafted by major league teams. And so you almost have to recruit them twice, recruit them away from other schools, and then recruit those kids to make the choice to play college baseball before they start their professional careers. Really challenging.
2-2 breaking balls lifted to center. Duke Ellis got a late jump. It's going to drop. Wolf will be stopped at third. And TCU's loaded the bases with nobody out on a walk, a clean single, and a bloop single.
Came off the bat a little different right there, and Ellis didn't get a great jump on it in center. I don't think you're catching that anyway, but tough base running play here for Wolf, and that's the right job right there. I'll tell you, Tom, not a hard hit ball yet for TCU, but 3 really good at bats.
And the base is loaded. Wolf at third. Watson at second and Isola at first. This is Jake Gunther. Bat goes flying into the Texas dugout. And he says, you know what? I'll wait for the bat, but I need Pine Tar first. Vince Alcazar, early TV time.
Look at that. Heads up.
That is top hand strong, I believe.
If you're going to lose your bat into the opponent's dugout, it's always a nice touch.
Gunther's from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, out of Oshkosh West High School, where he was a great high school basketball player. Went to Sacramento City College as a pitcher. Had an arm injury, then Oshkosh Bagashi turned into a great hitter. 0-2.
Well done.
1 home run last year in junior college. He was quoting himself as a singles hitter. Then he got here, hit 2 bombs in his first 7 games. Gunther taps it to short. Hibbler goes to second for 1, forward to first, and that is in time. It's a run producing double play, and TCU's on the board, but no ribby for Gunther.
No RBI, but if you're TCU, getting that run back, that's a rough start, giving up a 2-run homer in the first, and Eisler has struggled in the starting role. So I think if you're TCU, getting on the scoreboard, that's not ideal, obviously. Double play with the bases loaded, nobody out, but you'll take the run.
5th batter of the opening frame, Austin Henry, looks at a curveball.
I think the big concern if you're TCU is Henley's stuff is very sharp, just hasn't gotten outs, and you don't want to let him settle in. The fastball's fairly firm tonight. The slider's very good. He settles in, could be a problem for TCU.
Already 23 pitches in this first inning, living in the mid-90s. 1-1. Henry tied for third in the conference with 24 driven in. Had a hit last night in TCU's come from behind victory. It was a 3-2 final. TCU won it with a pop-up behind a drawn-in infield. Henry's another one of the junior college guys, like Hunter Wolf. He went to Walters State in Tennessee, was a first-team All-American at Walters State, Conference Player of the Year, and part of the Junior College World Series All-Tournament team. Comes in riding a 7-game hit streak. Couldn't find 95. It's the first strikeout for Blair Henley. TCU gets a run back after they loaded the bases. It's 2-1. Nobody has history like the Texas Longhorns when it comes to college baseball. 6-time national champs, the first coming in 1949. The most recent coming under Augie Garrido in 2005. Nobody has more appearances in the College World Series. And they have dominated since they played their first game in 1896, Mike Rooney, but that was a loss to the Blind Institute. No commentary on the umpires in that one. 6 College World Series, tied for second most all-time. No one's been to Omaha more often, and the most wins in the College World Series.
36 College World Series appearances. That statistic just jumps out at you. There's never been a down era in Texas baseball. Really remarkable, the consistency of the program.
Here's Mason Hibbler. Played in Omaha last year as the starting second baseman. Now he moves over to short. Texas has had to deal with a couple of key injuries this year. Lost their starting shortstop David Hamilton to a torn Achilles, and their starting catcher DJ Petrinsky. So Hibbler makes a move over from second to short. And he's down on 3 pitches. What do you make of Jake Eisler so far tonight?
Yeah, just what he's advertised to be, all about the strike zone, fearless, and he's going to give up some hard contact because of it. But right there, that's a beautiful fastball down in the zone. I love that mentality. That's what made Eisler so dominant as a reliever, just coming in and attacking the strike zone.
Here's Tate Shaw, 5th-year senior out of Austin's Westlake High School. First team academic all Big 12, petroleum engineer major. And barrels this one to left. Josh Watson, long run, will track it down. 2 down. And an efficient frame so far for Eisler. Talking about the injury to DJ Petrinsky, labrum injury, and the catcher went under the knife, so he's out for the year, and that gives an opportunity to Michael McCann, the 5th-year senior from Round Rock. And when they brought in DJ Petrinsky from JUCO, McCann really helped him, was a fantastic teammate, working with Petrinsky, teaching him the ins and outs of what is expected.
Come on.
To be a catcher at the University of Texas, and with so many young arms now learning how to manage those arms.
David Pierce said that too, Tom. McCann is, more than anything, what he's done as a 5th-year senior has just been a calming influence on those young arms. And these freshman arms at Texas, it's a highly touted group, just extreme talent. McCann's been a great influence for him.
That one on the thumbs, but it'll carry Watson into the corner. And it's a 1-2-3 frame worked by Jake Eisler. He only needed 8 pitches for 3 outs. We go to the bottom of the second with Texas on top.
I knew this was going to be tough.
First Big 12 series for TCU this season. Everybody else started last week, and they're up 1-0 in conference play. They're riding a season-long 5-game win streak for a team that's top 10 in the country in batting average and on-base percentage. They are either really good or not so good. They average double-digit runs in their wins, a lot less than that in their losses this season for head coach Jim Schlossnagle. The TCU program that missed out on the postseason last year, Mike Rooney, they barely missed as Johnny Reiser comes to the plate. And that one knocked the mask off of Michael McCann.
But to your point, Tom, by all accounts, TCU's a caught fly ball away from winning the Big 12 tournament and getting to a regional, but they weren't the same program that they were going to 4 straight Omahas. And this is a reboot with a lot of junior college players, and there's elite talent on this roster for TCU, and with all the new faces, you'd imagine they'll be much better in May than they have been in February and March.
Reiser pulls it to the right side. Tate Shaw trying to win the race, and he'll get it right in front of Reiser. One down with Adam Oviedo coming up. I think you undersold it just a little bit. It was a dropped pop-up due to the sun in the Big 12 tournament, and here's a nice defensive play.
Yeah, and remember, Tate Shaw's an outfielder. The smart play would be to pitch that to the guy who's standing at first base instead of having the player Henley's looking at him like,
dude, I'm right here.
It could have been a lot easier. But that's what happens when your left fielder plays first base sometimes.
Oviedo had that one just miss his shoulder. Sophomore from Grandview was on the all-freshman team in the conference last season. Oviedo's riding a 7-game hit streak in which he's hitting .423. He came on a little bit late, was injured, didn't play in February. For a guy who was a starting shortstop just about every game last year. laces this one foul.
You give Oviedo a lot of credit where he played every day as a freshman, but TCU brought in Hunter Wolf to play shortstop. So, you know, basically you're being challenged for your job, and with Hunter Wolf being injured, Oviedo jumps back in there, and he's really solidified the defense for TCU. He's done a very nice job in his sophomore season.
Chase the breaking ball. Strikeout number 2 for Blair Henley, who has retired 4 in a row. The women's championship continues tomorrow at noon. #1 seed Louisville takes on 8 seed Michigan. Catch that game on ESPN2 and streaming live on the ESPN app. Louisville a convincing win over Robert Morris, the school not the player, and Michigan knocked off Kansas State in their opening round game. Here's Connor Shepard, 4th-year junior out of Upland, California. And looks at a breaking ball low and in.
Hey, good miss. Stay with it. Good miss. Stay with it.
Shepard's bounced around within this TCU program. He was their starting 3rd baseman last year. And then came in this season and said, you know what, you're a 4th-string 3rd baseman. We're going to move you to 1st this year, and you're going to have to work to earn playing time there. But he had a great attitude during the whole time, coaching staff was telling us. Never pouted, never got down on himself. And now he's starting at 3rd base after starting every game there last year. Eric Kennedy deep into the corner, runs out of space. Connor Shepard redshirted his freshman year at Florida International, then 1 year at Mount San Antonio College, and signed late in the summer last year going into the season. Where would, you think about that? It's a great opportunity for Connor Shepard. Where would TCU have been without him?
Yeah, and I think he redshirted to try and grow that mustache, Tom.
That's not a junior college lip sweater. That is Power 5. He spits in his batting gloves before every pitch, and the crowd will time it.
Love it. That's outstanding.
You do the same thing before you fix your hair, right?
Yeah, somewhat similar.
Rip foul. See how the synchronicity is on this clap. I mean, this is real Lupton Stadium synchronicity here.
It's like breaking a football huddle. Oh, they interrupted him.
Runes, we might not see anything more college baseball than that all season long.
I'm all in on that. It's awesome. Crowd participation, Tom Hart. We encourage it.
3rd 3-ball count from Henley. This one will find a hole on the right side. And Connor Shepard has the 3rd hit of the game for TCU.
I like it. Both pitchers are attacking the strike zone. If you're going to win this game offensively, you're going to have to swing the bat to do it. Been limited free passes so far. Not trying to trick anybody. Fastball down the dish. You see Shepard so much more confident this year as opposed to last year here at TCU.
Andrew Kiefer at the plate now. Batting in the 9-hole with a .257 average. Kiefer's from Allen, Texas, by way of Weatherford Junior College. They call him the hit collector. Doesn't always look pretty, but it works for him. And he muscles this one towards right center. Austin Todd takes care of it. No runs, a hit, 1 left on. We're through with 2, and Texas is up 2-1. Kirk Sarlos, #2 for Cal State Fullerton, is a TCU pitching coach. He was a great closer his sophomore and junior seasons at Fullerton, and then senior year became the ace of the staff, won 15 games. The Astros used their 3rd-round pick in 2001 on him, ended up playing 7 seasons in the big leagues.
You know, arguably one of the best pitching coaches in the country, was a big leaguer, as you mentioned, Tom. And, you know, TCU didn't necessarily think they were getting Kirk Sarlos back this year. He was a favorite to be the head coach at Stanford 2 years ago, to be the head coach at Rice last year. And again, he's as good a recruiter and pitching coach as we have in college baseball. And his year in 2001, Fullerton went to Omaha. How about this? he would close on Friday nights, Kirk Saarloos, and then start on Sundays. It was something else. Just a dominant college baseball season.
Here's Lance Ford at the plate for Texas. Shoots it the opposite way for a base hit. Leadoff single. So when it comes to Saarloos and the schools that have pursued him, Stanford, an incredible baseball history. Rice has a College World Series championship, multiple trips to Omaha. Why stay at TCU as a pitching coach when you have an opportunity to be a head coach elsewhere?
Because of the program these guys have built here. You know, Jim Schlesinger has built a program here where if you're Kirk Saarloos, you're extremely well compensated. You've got a chance to coach some of the best arms in the country. And, you know, Jim Schlesinger's made it a very hard place to leave, I think, is the bottom line.
Duke Ellis at the plate. And what do we get, a balk? Lance Ford will jog to second. Jim Schlesinger in disbelief.
They're probably saying Eisler did not come to a complete stop, and that is an irritating balk call. It's the correct call, but it's hard to say that it's really deceiving the runner.
I couldn't tell if it came from John Bullock at first or Harry Greer behind the plate.
Interesting.
You can drive here. Come on, kid.
So extra 90 feet for Lance Ford. Ellis struck out on 3 pitches his first time up, showed bunt. And the count's 1-0. Texas under Augie Garrido was known as a program that would have anyone bunt 1 through 9. Augie viewed it as the ultimate teammate play, as the ultimate sacrifice to give yourself up for the good of the team. They'll still do it, but not quite as much as was prominent under Augie.
Yeah, I would say David Pierce's style is going to be more, there'll be bunt, but it'll be more bunt for a hit actually than sacrifice bunt. But one thing David Pierce will also do is this team will run a lot more, and they've got tremendous team speed.
29 stolen bases on the season for Texas. West Virginia leads the conference in stolen bases. TCU second with 40.
Come on, kid. Come on, kid. Here you go.
Ford the runner at second after a single in the balk, and Ellis the leadoff man. A lot of strikeouts in the leadoff spot for Duke Ellis, though. 31 strikeouts on the season. Most on this Texas team.
I think a lot of that, Tom, has to do with, you look at, he's got 28 walks as well. And early in the season, he was so willing to go deep in counts. And then scouting reports start to catch up on you. And teams learn that, hey, you can get 2 strikes on this guy fairly easily because he's passive early in the count. I think that has led to a lot of the strikeouts, is just hitting with 2 strikes so often.
91 is low, and Eisler issues his first walk of the game, only his 3rd walk this season.
If I'm Kirk Saarloos, I'm headed to the mound right now. That's unlike Eisler.
You think he just got a little too picky with a runner in scoring position?
Well, and also you give up another hit, which is something he's probably very conscious about. He's been giving up a lot of hits, and then you balk. And so the game will speed up on you.
He's got to face the heart of this Texas batting order now with Kennedy, Todd, and Zubia due up 2, 3, and 4 hitters, and Zach Zubia has a 2-run home run to his name tonight. A couple of guys meandering in the TCU bullpen.
And that's really a next piece for TCU. This is clearly a very, very good team, but the bullpen, the roles are a little unsettled still. And that's going to be an area for TCU with Oviedo back in there. The defense seems to be solidified, but the bullpen's still a little unsettled.
So 2 on with nobody out for Eric Kennedy. Singled and scored in the first. Is it just me, or is Eisler? Well, we saw him go away from the fastball with Ellis at the plate before ball 4.
I would say he's fighting it a little bit right now. Doesn't look super comfortable in his mechanics. Very unlike him to lose command of the strike zone like this. This is where you're just grinding through it.
Bunted up the third base line. Eisler throws late, and Texas has loaded the bases.
Just not a super confident or aggressive play here by Eisler. You see, throw him off that back foot right there, takes that false half step there, and
now the stage is set for Austin Todd with the bases loaded and nobody out. Caught the edge, 94.
that's a really good pitch too. You know, Austin Todd is the best hitter in the Texas lineup. You're not feeling very confident right now if you're Eisler, and you just execute a perfect fastball down and away.
Todd, as patient as they come, leads Texas in walks for a good chunk of the season. He was in the country's top 10 in walks. And that patience paying off. Hitters count now with the bases juiced.
Boy, this is really tricky. You got Zuby on deck, who's swinging it great. You just a fastball to Todd and a 2-1 count could be a big problem here.
Zach Zuby homered in the first inning. He waits on deck. Line towards right, headed towards the fence, and foul. It'll come back to the plate at 2-2.
So that's a 2-1 fastball, and Todd just a little bit tardy there. I don't know, Tom. I would not, if I'm Kirk Saarloos, I know you got the bases loaded and a walk is an issue, but I would throw slider here. Fastball would make me very nervous. You could see Kirk Saarloos, very uncomfortable time to call pitches.
The 2-2 to Todd.
Oof, beautiful slider, and Todd takes it. That's, if you're Jake Eisler and Kirk Saarloos, you just threw your perfect pitch, and this guy was just that good. And now you almost got to go fastball.
And action has heated up in the TCU bullpen. Halen Green, the lefty, starting to get loose. Line drive to right. It'll get down. Ford got a late jump, and he finally crosses the plate. And they nearly got the force at second. It's an RBI single for Austin Todd, and Texas takes a 3-1 lead.
Fastball there in a full count, and Austin Todd just too good a hitter. You could see really committed to the other side of the field. Really strong in that swing. Good piece of hitting.
So here's Zubia. Homered in the first. As a freshman, he was hitting behind Cody Clemens last year, third-round pick, and he thrived behind Clemens. Upstairs. Big shoes to fill for Zach Zubia, trying to take over the power role from Cody Clemens, but he's got the feet to do it. He wears size 16 cleats.
It's a big foot.
One-0. Preseason all-conference selection. Last year, Zach was first team all Big 12.
This is an area where David Pierce wants to see Zach Zubia take chances. 2-0, get your swing off right here. Don't be so selective that you get yourself deeper into counts.
Three 3-0.
I'm going green light here, Tom Hart. If I'm David Pierce and Zach Zubia is the guy I want swinging early in counts and being more aggressive, trusting his swing, I'm green lighting him right here.
Bases loaded in the third inning, trying to even the series. Took 4 pitches to force in a run. Jake Eisler, coming into this game, had walked 2 batters all season. He's walked 2 in this inning.
This is, if you're Jim Schlesinger, it's tough to leave Eisler in there right now, Tom, because he just doesn't look very confident. And the Texas hitters look so comfortable. You just feel like any option at least gives you a different look.
Schloss now will come out of the dugout. He had hesitated a moment ago. Game 2 of the series. Last night in game 1, TCU got 8 strong innings from Nick Lodolo. And then Marcelo Perez pitched the 9th to earn the win. So they've got a well-rested bullpen, and they're not going to waste any time going to it. Nobody out in the 3rd. Texas threatening to blow it open. Well, if you're wondering the difference between coming out of the pen and starting, one of the big differences, especially in major college baseball, is the opponent has a book on you, and they use that to extreme success against Jake Eisler, chasing him after just 2 innings. He's allowed 4 runs, and he's responsible for all 3 runners on as he hands it off to Halen Green Jr. out of Lufton, Texas. Was academic all Big 12 last year. 5'11" lefty with a little funk to him as he makes his 5th appearance.
Yeah, it'll be a completely different look, and for as heated up as the Texas bats are, that's exactly what Jim Schlossnagle's looking for. Kind of a sidearm lefty and sling a slider in there, and again, really an opposite look to Eisler. See if that can cool off the Texas bats.
His dad played football at Southern Arkansas. He's in his 3rd season in this TCU program, a couple of starts as a freshman, part of a College World Series team, and 5 starts last year for a team that just missed out on the postseason. Tossed a 1-hitter against Lamar last year as a 19th 1-hitter in school history. Kirk Sarlos, a pitching coach, having to go into the pen early. And Ryan Reynolds at the plate with the bases loaded. .278 average with 1 home run for Reynolds. From Monroe, Louisiana, they count now 1-1.
This is a real opportunity for the TCU pitching staff, Tom, because Nick Lodolo has been tremendous on Friday nights. Brandon Williamson has been really good on Sundays. That Saturday role and the bullpen roles are really unsettled for TCU, and Schlossnagle and Kirk Sarlos really looking for people to step forward.
2-1 now to Reynolds. Reynolds has been interesting as a hitter over his time at the University of Texas. Had a better approach last year than 2 years ago, where he was almost too patient at the plate. But originally switch hitter, he basically gave up on it last year, and David Pierce was okay with it for a little bit. Once he found out that the confidence just wasn't there from the opposite side, he said, fine, let's limit you to one side of the plate. Now he's been switch hitting all season this year.
And I like David Pierce's stance on it was he really fought Reynolds on it that, hey, man, you're a switch hitter. There are going to be difficult times. You got to stay with this. And you really love that when a coach will fight you on that and stick to his guns.
It's another bases loaded walk. And Texas has opened up a 5-1 lead thanks to the free pass from Green. That run will be charged to Eisler. And it brings Mason Hibbler up. Hibbler's been great defensively lately. Mentioned that David Hamilton's out for the season for Texas. And so Hibbler moved from second to short. He said it wasn't a challenge for me at all. I'm a shortstop. It's what I do. It's a shortstop growing up, coming out of Cypress Ranch High School and then at Odessa Junior College. And we had a good laugh before the game, Maroons, because he said one thing I love about this level is the fields. The infields are perfect, whether it's the turf at Dish Falk or the grass here. I said, did you play on some pastures in junior college? He said, literally. Like, we played on cow pastures. 0-1 pitch is laced foul. They had a trip to Clarendon, Texas, and he said to find the field, you literally took a left, went down a dirt road, drove through miles and miles of cow pasture, and then there was an opening, and there's the field.
That's awesome. At junior college as well, Tom, as a position player, you are taking care of your own field. So now I guess the away games can't control it. The home games, if it's a bad yard, that's your fault.
Fair. And he reached for this one and pulled a foul. He said there was another JUCO they went to, and they had just had a celebration for the new infield that they had installed. And they had installed it the day before they played on it. So you think you get funny hops in some fields? How about a field that has, I don't know how many there would be, 150 squares of brand new sod laid down?
I'm not a groundskeeper, but that's not ideal, right?
Not ideal. Why aren't you a groundskeeper? You're the professor. You've done everything else in college baseball. How are your rake skills?
Yeah, I would not awesome, if I'm being honest. Better sweeper.
I think when we go to TD Ameritrade this year, we're going to put you out there with the grounds crew. Give you a crash
I'm in
course.
like brooming the baselines, getting the pebbles off the grass on the infield. I can do that with anybody.
Oh, you're
but I'd like to advance. I'd like to be a more rounded player. Chalk game, horrible. Not straight lines.
Hibbler pops it up. A lot of foul territory here, and Gunther runs out of room. Almost had a chance in the upper deck here at Lupton. So you can drag the infield, huh? You talking base paths, not necessarily all of the dirt.
No,
just,
the dirt.
Just straight lines are good for you.
Like dragging the dirt, that's for the prima donna groundskeepers. Like you're on the tractor, like look at me. That's look at me. I'm more of a team guy, behind the scenes guy.
I think your bucket hats would look good on a John Deere.
Right? It's well manicured right there.
0-2 to Hibbler. And this one's well hit to center. Reiser's got great speed drifting, turns his shoulders and makes the catch. Deep enough to score a run. Austin Todd comes home from third. I don't know where that one would rate on route efficiency for Johnny Reiser, but it's tough to get it over his head. Hibbler's 9th ribby of the year.
Yeah, and the Texas hitters really on it right now. I think for TCU, you are just hoping to get out of this inning with the game intact, and it is right on the fringes right now.
Little work right here. Come on.
Here's Tate Shaw, 8th batter of the inning. Shaw's looking for his first hit this series. Green walked in a run, then allowed a run on the sac fly. Still all 6 runs belong to Jake Eisler. Eisler, Runes, was so good coming out of the bullpen. And talking with the TCU coaching staff, they said, you know what, it was really, easy for him because it was an easy rhythm, quick outs. Hitters not really working counts against him. And then the idea that things change when the other team's got video of you, and they got video of everybody, but they really prepare for a starting pitcher more than they would somebody coming in the 7th or 8th.
Yeah, I mean, the preparation from your opponent is a whole different ball game. I think the mental part of it for some pitchers too. I saw Eisler come out of the pen in the opening weekend of the season, and he was dominant. But it was just, you know, show and go. You know, very aggressive, get after it. And sometimes as a starter, there's just so much time before the game and too much time to think about things. Because that's the other interesting part. It's not like his stuff is any less. He wasn't 97 as a reliever, and now he's 91 as a. I mean, the stuff is very much the same. Jake Eisler's got a lot of outs in his future. There's no question that he can pitch. It's just for whatever reason, this role has not suited him yet.
Shaw reaches for it. Foul territory, Austin Henry to a friendly railing and out of play. They had a grill going over there in that premium seating section last night. I don't see any smoke rising so far tonight.
They have turned this yard into a really nice place. Look at that. Good iced tea.
Fired up. My guy last night working it was, I don't know, might have been out of sorts a little bit. He went full flame and then forgot about the brats for a minute. Got him nice and crispy. Tate Shaw strikes out swinging. First K for Halen Green.
And this will be a really nice left on left. I can see Halen Green being a very nice option for these guys in the bullpen. That sidearm slider, really difficult pitch on a left-handed hitter.
Ninth batter of the inning is Michael McCann. Low to McCann.
Keep seeing it, Mike. Keep seeing it. Slow it down, Mike. Slow it down.
Late in the year last year, Halen Green made 3 starts, all in conference play against West Virginia and Texas and Baylor. So these guys have seen him more than they would have seen your typical reliever. The 2-0 to McCann. Well hit center field. Riser turns again, and it makes another fantastic catch. But Texas sends 9 to the plate. They push 4 across. It'll be Wolf, Watson, and Isola due up for TCU. And the same reaction many Longhorns have had with Riser in center. The Stockyards, part of beautiful Fort Worth. And the home to Texas Christian University. And what a job they've done revitalizing this whole cow town. Is fantastic. You had some time on the town last night after you left the ball game. And we rave about Fort Worth. You're raving about the atmosphere here at Lupton last night.
Yeah, this has turned out to be, well, first of all, great atmosphere with Texas in here. And this has really turned into a beautiful ballpark. They've kind of added as they've gone, as Jim Schlossnagle has raised the profile of the program. It's become a really nice place to watch a college baseball game.
It's tough to beat the setting, right? Especially the outfield, from the trees behind center field to the seating behind the wall and right. And they've done so many great add-ons and additions to the athletic facilities here at TCU. They continue to work on Amon G. Carter Stadium, adding on to the other side now, and new basketball arena in the last few years. Coaches love that, because when they see building on campus at the other athletic facilities and you start checking the boxes, then you realize okay, our turn's coming up next.
That's right.
We are right around the corner.
That's right.
Some burnt orange has snuck into the stadium here for this one.
Love the double-decker atmosphere. Can't beat it.
This place has its own magic. They refer to it as Lupton magic. It's been key many times, including a couple of years ago against Sam Houston State, a 22-inning victory against David Pierce's team when he was coaching the Bearcats. That was in the regionals. Massive comeback against North Carolina State in the regional 2015. They're down 8-1 in the 8th inning with 2 out and the bases empty. Great home field advantage, but of course, to have a home field advantage, you've got to have great players. Hunter Wolf chases it for strike 3. Third strikeout for Blair Henley, pitching with a 5-run advantage. TCU holds the advantage in this series since 2004, but they got swept in Austin last year. And since 04, they've won 9 of 10 against the Longhorns here.
2010 as well, TCU took down Texas in that super regional to get to Omaha for the first time under Jim Schlossnagle, and that weekend there was a real game changer for this program. TCU had gotten really good in baseball very quickly under Jim Schlossnagle, but that took it over the top.
Watson in the 2-hole looks at a strike, 1-1. This will be the 50th pitch of the night. Wow, what a snag by Lance Ford. Freshman who dreamed of being a Longhorn growing up out of Kerrville, Texas.
Watson really gets into this baseball. Ford, that's a really nice play, and that's how it's going for TCU right now. Well done right there.
Isola looks at the breaking ball low and away. Tied for 4th in the Big 12 in home runs. Off the glove of Reynolds. It'll trickle into shallow left. And Isola has a 2 for 2 night, looking for an extra base. The throw is there, but mishandled by Ford. Isola with a 2-out double.
Not your ordinary looking double. Comes off the turf right there, but you love Isola. This is really who he is, a really confident kid. Reynolds with a nice effort right there. Isola is a really confident, very aggressive player. Not seeing many catchers leg things into doubles. I like it.
Isola 6'1", 215. Here's Jake Gunther. Gunther had his official visit to TCU a couple of years ago. He stayed with Lucan Baker on that fall weekend, same weekend College Game Day was in town. It didn't take long to convince him to come to TCU. But he didn't want to leave during his visit. He wanted to pick Lucan's brain about his approach at the plate. He said it was pretty simple, so I got the gist of it. See a fastball, hit a fastball. And Lucan Baker would hit fastballs as far as the eye could see. Now in the Cardinals organization, maybe starting as high as AAA this year.
Lucan Baker was so fun to watch play college baseball because he's 6'4", 265 pounds, but plays like a very skilled, almost on-base player. I mean, Lucan Baker was not your just massive guy taking massive hacks. He prided himself on being a real baseball player.
Up and in, 4-pitch walk puts the Wisconsin native on with 2 outs.
Now this is the real challenge for Blair Henley. That in up 6-1 with the way this game's flowing, walking somebody with any amount of outs is a no-go. But can you minimize the damage? Can you move on to the next pitch, retire Henry, and get in the dugout?
Austin Henry struck out his first time up. And he looks at a breaking ball. It was a tad up, 0-1.
But well executed by Henley. That's, if you're David Pierce, that's what you want to see.
Snap throw to first. Got him! And Michael McCann picks off Jake Gunther to end the TCU threat. Gunther saying he was safe, would love to see this one challenged, and Jim Schlossnagle might do just that. He thinks he swung past it. What do you got? Did the left arm get around the tag?
Yeah, and I think he pulled that right arm back. Look at Michael McCann. Boy, he has been the heart and soul of this club with all the injuries they've endured. Really savvy base running play by Gunther in that you pull that one arm back and extend the left arm, but obviously you can't get picked off down 6-1 in a game like this.
Interesting that in the SEC they have collaborative replay review with the folks back in Birmingham, the conference headquarters, helping these men in blue make the call, but not the case here.
See him pull that right arm back, and looks like the tag's kind of in the chest. The real challenge becomes, you know, what look is available. But yet, to your point there, Tom, that what they have in Birmingham, that's the ideal. I mean, that's beautiful.
Similar to what they have in MLB.
See him, watch him pull that right arm back and extend the left. It's a nice little base running move right there.
So obviously the question is, when did the glove make contact? Was it on the forearm or hand, or was it in the chest for the first time? And John Bullock, first base umpire, who's only 10 feet away, had him out. What do you think, Runes?
What you just said is exactly it. It was really hard to see where the tag came into play, but it did feel like Gunther's right arm coming back, that he looks safe from a distance.
So one of the interesting things, and this was brought up during an ACC game I was watching opening weekend, Duke versus Virginia, is with the truck providing the replays to the umpires on the field, they're the ones that are judging it, and they will overrule John Bullock and say he's safe. So TCU's got a new opportunity. 2 on with 2 out, and Henry back at the dish with the 1-1 count.
Nobody happier than Jake Gunther right there. That's not a good feeling, making the 3rd out on a back pick down 6-1. Boy, that's a nice breaking ball. Henley, so many times pitchers have a slider and a curveball, and they just morph into one fairly average pitch. Blair Henley is not that. It is a real slider with horizontal movement. You see that curveball right there with that vertical depth. 2 distinct and very good breaking balls.
So can Henry take advantage of the new opportunity? The 1-2 poked foul. .20 pitches this inning for Blair Henley.
Time granted. Alexei Solo's the runner at second after a 2-out double, and Jake Gunther drew the walk. Gunther has a more conservative lead now. Curveball lifted to right. Todd deep into the corner. Got it on a running catch for the second time to end the TCU threat. No runs a hit. 2 left on. Frogs have stranded 4 through 3. Longhorns by 5. Three teams in the Big 12 in the top 25 coaches poll, with TCU right on the outside looking in. Obviously, with a series win against Texas, they'd be right in there. Texas Tech had an interesting series this weekend. They swept Michigan. Stetson was also in Lubbock for an odd kind of 3-team weekend. And Oklahoma now in the top 25. They're on a 5-game win streak, currently in a delay at home against the Jayhawks, with a 4-3 lead, looking to take that win streak to 6 games. Here's Duke Ellis at the plate for Texas, and he lifts one to left field, or pardon me, center field. Routine for Riser, 1 down. Runes, how would you handicap the Big 12 from a national perspective when we spent a lot of time this year talking about the elite teams in the Pac-12, the steady play of the SEC and the ACC?
Well, I would say Texas Tech has got as talented a roster as anybody in the country. Great team speed, tremendous velocity on the mound. You saw Oklahoma's having a great year. I'll tell you a couple other teams. Oklahoma State's got as good a pitching as anybody. Baylor's got a very old position player group. Unfortunately, they lost Cody Bradford, their ace for the season. And West Virginia's got an ace in Alex Manoah, and they're off to a great start. So it's a very deep league. But you look at teams at the top like TCU, I think about, and Texas here and Texas Tech. Any of these teams, they're Omaha caliber teams if you catch them on the right day.
2 of them made it to Omaha last year. Texas and Texas Tech. And then 2 years ago, 3 of them made it in the postseason, and all 3 made it to the College World Series.
How about that? And don't think the Big 12 coaches didn't say that out loud, that, hey, only 3 bids, but all 3 got to Omaha. Maybe more teams should get in.
2-0 to Kennedy.
I would say, Tom, the depth of the league has never been stronger from a coaching standpoint. Steve Rodriguez has done a great job at Baylor. Remember, he was at Pepperdine. Skip Johnson in Oklahoma really doing a good job. And, you know, even the Kansas State, Pete Hughes takes over, former Oklahoma coach, former Boston College coach. It just feels like the league top to bottom has never been better.
Upstairs to Kennedy. Big 12 can also claim the number 6 overall pick in the draft last year, Kyler Murray.
Yeah, top 10,
top 10,
9 maybe for the A's.
Got a lot of money, got above slot.
You're right.
And we'll have to give that a good chunk of it back as he turns to the NFL.
Broke every mock draft last year. Nobody had Kyler Murray in the first round because he's going to be the quarterback. Like, why would he?
Right. And the other aspect of that is, with all due respect to Kyler Murray, he wasn't even the best center fielder in this conference.
Right. But boy, the tools, holy heck. I remember seeing him hit a home run, Kyler Murray, last year, and it was one of those ones that wasn't a no-doubter. By the time he downshifted to get into his trot, he was rounding second base. Just crazy speed on a baseball field.
Eric Kennedy at the plate. Chop to the left side. Henry. 2 down. We'll chat with Jim Schlossnagle between innings, get a feel for what he thinks of the Big 12.
And he's the dean of the conference now. It's hard to believe.
Kennedy the runner at second. Here's Zach Zubia.
It is interesting, though. I'm sorry, Tom. The Big 12 has not won a national championship in baseball since Texas in 2005, and that's become quite the drought. But it just feels like a run of national titles in this league is imminent. There's just too good a baseball being played, especially at the top of the league.
What would you attribute that drought to?
I would say some of it is coaching transitions. You know, if you look at most of the schools in this league, again, Jim Schlossnagle is the longest tenured coach in the league right now. So a lot of transitions, but all have been great transitions.
Pickoff attempt, and Henry didn't bother to apply the tag.
I think about Texas Tech, too. Think about the teams that Tim Tadlock's been bringing to Omaha. Those are teams that were absolutely capable of winning the whole thing. Just sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
And by the way, their bullpen was the talk of the field over the last 2 days when talking to these coaching staffs about the strength of the league. Bringing in multiple guys who can go mid-90s out of the pen.
I love Tim Tadlock's recruiting philosophy on arms. Basically, go get guys with bazookas, and we'll find 5 that can throw strikes. and it's going to be glorious. And that's really what it's been.
We don't need 10 to throw strikes, just 5?
5. Give me 5 guys throwing 96 and that can find the strike zone, and we'll be fine.
Big series win for Texas Tech over Michigan. That one will make it to the backstop. And Kennedy advances to third on the wild pitch.
And you know, it looks like Texas Tech ran Michigan off the field. They played very well this weekend, but that's a big series win. Michigan is the class of the Big Ten this year. They've got 3 really good starting pitchers, and again, it looks like Texas Tech blew them out this weekend. That is a series sweep that will age well for Texas Tech.
Ready for it, Duke.
8-5 was the final today, even though Michigan ended up with 11 hits in that one. Josh Young drove in 3. This one into the corner. Fair inside the chalk. Headed to second is Zubia. He's got 3 ribbies on the day, and he's reached base safely in all 3 trips. Pardon me, Todd.
Austin Todd, the best pure hitter in this lineup for Texas, and many were wondering, how is Texas playing so well? Just a really strong, level swing right there. Austin Todd's been a real key for the Longhorns having the season they're having so far.
Halen Green will exit. TCU goes to the bullpen, and the Frogs will go to the bullpen for the 2nd time this game. Back in a moment.
Coach Art, do you have a pronunciation?
Matt Rudis is the new pitcher for TCU, freshman from Madisonville, Texas. His dad was a catcher here back in the early 90s. And he's the 2nd reliever of the game, replacing Halen Green, who relieved Jake Eisler. 4th appearance of the season for Rudis. He's only thrown 3 2/3 so far.
Tall order for a freshman. You were jumping in the deep end of the pool right here. Big crowd, Texas as the opponent. But again, Tom, there's a lot of roles to be had in the TCU bullpen. So for Rudis, really a spectacular opportunity to earn some more innings right here.
Been an emotional roller coaster for Zach Zubia between the 2 games in this series. Last night, about midway through the game, he thought he gave Texas a nice cushion with a shot deep to right center field. Johnny Reiser said, "Don't think so fast, my friend." Took it back from over the fence and sent Zubia back to the dugout. First inning tonight, no bringing this one back. A frozen rope over the fence and left. Home run number 3 on the season.
Zubia's got as much raw power as any hitter in college baseball, and you see the numbers are okay, not great. Zach Zubia definitely capable of more, and if this weekend's any sign of what he's got going, really good sign for David Pierce in Texas.
Go, Zach.
Halen Green went an inning and 2/3, only allowed a hit, but gave up a run and allowed inherited runners to score. Two of the three he inherited came across. 1-0 to Zubia. Two 2-0. Zubia originally enrolled at Tulane. David Pierce, a former Tulane head coach, 2 years there before, I should say, after 3 seasons as a head coach at Sam Houston State. Been a home at Sam Houston, thought he'd be there for 25 years. Then all of a sudden the coaching carousel started spinning, and he ends up as the head coach of the Texas Longhorns. So wanted him at Tulane, ends up getting the Texas job. Zubia comes along. He had to sit out anyway because he had Tommy John coming out of high school, so he took summer school classes and had to sit out. A strike at 94 to 3-1.
No.
Danger zone for Matt Rudis right here. He's got a really good fastball. It's been up in the zone in this at bat. 3-1. Zubia is going to be ready to fire, get a fastball up in the zone. Zubia can hit it a long way.
And he draws his second walk of the game. Jim Schlossnagle came into this game thinking about winning the series and handicapping things with Blair Henley on the mound for Texas. He probably had a good thought. You know what, our best chance to win the series might just be on Sunday.
Yeah, right now when you have an unsettled bullpen like Jim Schlossnagle does, you really are looking at using those relief arms as, do I have a chance to win this game? And you almost have to punt your best arms if you're Kirk Saarloos and hold off for that next game. It's a really delicate balance.
Ryan Reynolds fouls it back. That can't be easy for competitors.
No, because they know they've got Charles King, Augie Milbauer, Marcelo Perez, who threw 30 pitches last night. That's their core of their pen right now when you've got a chance to win the game. And to your point, you want those guys in the game at all times. But in a game like this, the score is not giving you an opportunity to use those arms.
The 0-1 pitch to Ryan Reynolds. You a Deadpool fan?
I would say no.
How about Blake Lively? James Notary and Asher Cook both warming up. Ryan's dad Shane played at Texas, was a third-round pick in 1989. Would end up having a 13-year career in the big leagues. Was an all-star with the Astros in 2000. Also played for the Braves and Diamondbacks.
Here we go, Adam. Coming at you, Adam.
Frozen with the breaking ball. And Reynolds goes down looking. Couple stranded. But Texas in control deep into the pinch, 7-1. We'll talk with TCU head coach Jim Schlossnagle after this.
Let's be honest.
Tom Hart alongside the Professor Mike Rooney here at Lupton Stadium. Happy to be joined by TCU head coach Jim Schlossnagle. Coach, we were talking moments ago about the strength of the Big 12. This is your first conference series of the season. How do you view the conference this year?
I mean, I think it's as strong as ever. I think you have legitimate at least 6 teams, if not 7, that are NCAA regional caliber clubs that, if they play well at the right time, could end up in Omaha.
So, Schloss, you added a lot of new faces to your lineup. It's a lot of really physical, athletic, dynamic position players, but they've got to get adjusted to the Big 12 and Division I baseball. How are you guys going about trying to speed up the learning curve for these kids?
Well, I mean, you know, from things we do in the fall, facing our own team, crowd noise, fall games, those kind of things, and certainly our preseason schedule, when you're playing against Vanderbilt and Cal State Fullerton and Virginia, and then in the Houston College Classic and big league stadiums. We played in a big league ballpark the other night. We try to do as best you can, but nothing teaches like experience.
Here's Johnny Reiser at the plate for TCU. One more question for you. Talking about big crowds, the atmosphere at Lupton Stadium last night especially was absolutely electric. What does it mean for you here at TCU to have that kind of support, not just the fans, but the administration as well?
Well, it means everything, you know. I mean, that's why there's 5 World Series banners sitting out there. You know, we have a great commitment here to win at a really high level, which we need, being a private school with a high cost of attendance. And our fans, you know, TCU has become the home school for a small private school in the state of Texas. We have an awesome fan base.
Coach, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks you guys for being here.
Head coach Jim Schlossnagle of TCU took them to their first College World Series in 2010 and then 4 in a row before missing out on the postseason last year. And Runes, it was a delicate balancing act for Jim Schlossnagle and for the administration here over the course of the summer, because he was rumored to be in the line for the Mississippi State job, and there was a real fear among TCU fans that the guy who's taken them to their only 5 College World Series was going to head off to Starkville. Then he announced he was coming back. They kept Schloss. They kept Kirk Sarlos, who was a hair away from getting the head job at Rice. That's got to be considered a win for the program overall.
Yeah, I mean, a massive win, because you could argue this is one of the very best coaching staffs in America. Kirk Sarlos and Bill Mosiello and Jim Schlossnagle. And to your point, they were losing one of them. They were losing Jim Schlossnagle, and then Sarlos gets promoted to head coach, or vice versa. And so there's Bill Mosiello right there. I mean, it's an incredible coaching staff, and for them to keep all 3 guys that were really the ones that drove this program to 4 straight Omahas, really a huge win for the school.
Bill Mosiello brought with him an aggressive approach at the plate and on the bases for this TCU team when he first came here. He's got a very interesting background with the pro ball background, including time as a manager for the richest man in baseball history now, Mike Trout.
Right.
Mosiello was managing in the Angels organization when they drafted the Millville, New Jersey native. And it was interesting hearing him talk about Trout's development from year 1 to year 2. He said, you know, year 1, we had him in the Midwest League, and I thought this guy's really good. But they were playing in the Midwest League playoffs. He came up late. Here's a little dribbler. And Henley handles it. He came up late. He said, I wasn't going to play him that much because I was going to play the guys that got us to that point. Manager of the Cedar Rapids Colonels in the Midwest League, and Trout came up there for a late season stint, and then they both moved on to AA Arkansas the next year before Mosiello would go on and join the coaching staff at the University of Tennessee. And here was the tweet that came out after Trout signed the 12-year, $426.5 million deal. Praised his parents, Jeff and Debbie. Probably could have also asked for a loan if he wanted to.
Do you tip former coaches? That would be a good question to ask.
He did not coach him in instructional league after Trout's first season in pro ball. And he said, when I first saw him in spring training that next year, I recognized the jump that he'd made. Henley handles it. An efficient frame for Blair Henley, and these Texas Longhorns need just 11 pitches for those 3 outs. They're in control through 4. Texas leads TCU 7-1, top of the 5th inning, as the Longhorns look to even this series here in game 2. And we're joined by Texas head coach David Pierce. Coach, thanks for joining us. We certainly appreciate it. What do you think about your pitcher Blair Henley so far tonight?
He's been good. You know, he has pitched behind a little bit, but he's worked himself back into the count. But he's been attacking, and his stuff is good.
David, Austin Todd was a guy you guys didn't have for most of last year due to injury. What has his return to the lineup meant to you guys?
Huge presence. I mean, we consider him probably our best hitter, and he sees the ball so well. He hits the ball hard. He has quality at bats every single day.
Coach, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
All right, appreciate it.
Let David Pierce get back to work. Texas played their first game in 1896. And David Pierce, he faced an unenviable task, Mike Maroney, of replacing a legend in Augie Garrido. Augie passed away last spring, but Augie, in his wisdom and in his pride of the Texas program, did a fantastic job embracing Pierce and his coaching staff and supporting them, as he at the time had moved into administrative role. He told me at the time, though, he goes, you know, I worked it into my contract. I told him I will never wear a tie.
That's great. I would say too, Tom, I mean, David Pierce was molded by two legends. I mean, he really cut his teeth working under Wayne Graham at Rice in the heyday for Rice. And then he comes to Texas, and to your point, Augie really embraced David. And of course, they had a relationship before that. And I just think David Pierce is absolutely the perfect coach for Texas baseball.
He took Texas back to Omaha last year, and in one of the most moving moments we saw, he came out of the tunnel wearing Augie's number for the first game of that College World Series. Two-two pitch in the dirt, but swung on and missed by Hibbler.
And again, there is nothing more difficult in coaching than replacing a legend like that. And so often we see it fail. We see it not go well. And for David Pierce, he's been such a steady influence on the program. Obviously, you know, 7 straight regionals for himself at Sam Houston State, and then Tulane, and then at Texas. He's a Houston guy, which is a really important recruiting hotbed in the state.
Isola gives it a look. It'll be into the seats.
And to pay tribute to Augie like that, it was the right move. It was super authentic. It was really neat to see.
Made the tournament 2 years ago, into the College World Series last year, which included a regional win against their rivals from College Station. Breaking ball just missed.
I think it's easy too, Tom, for us to forget how good those Rice teams were back in the early 2000s. They were going to Omaha almost every year. You got players like Lance Berkman, and they win the 2003 national title. And David Pierce's fingerprints were all over that program.
Was an assistant coach to Wayne Graham from 2003 to 11. And he followed a legend at Sam Houston State following Mark Johnson. Strike 3 called. 5th K. Or pardon me, that's the 3rd K for Rudis. Tomorrow the women's second round matchups continue at 2 on ESPN2. Check your local listings for the game in your area. You can stream every game live on the ESPN app. 2 o'clock games include Texas A&M Marquette, South Carolina, Florida State, and Sophie Cunningham and Missouri taking on Iowa in Iowa City. Here's Michael McCann. David Pierce wasn't the only coach to honor Augie Garrido when he passed away. Tim Schlossnagle also came out wearing his number 16. 2-0 now, and a pitch in the dirt. So David Pierce followed Mark Johnson at Sam Houston State, followed Rick Jones at Tulane, and followed Augie Garrido at Texas. So you're looking at 2 guys who took over programs and built them in very different ways. Pierce took all 3 of those teams to the NCAA tournament his first year. McCann's got to shake that one off. Meanwhile, Schlossnagle built this program essentially from the ground up.
Yeah, the TCU was not a nationally relevant program. Oh, that might have got him twice. Michael McCann's thinking, I wanted to play a lot this year, but they're taking a lot of contact. You know, to your point, though, Tom, Jim Schlossnagle, TCU baseball, the national brand it's become, that's all Jim Schlossnagle. For David Pierce, it's the opposite. You think about the legend of Augie Garrido. Augie Garrido won national titles in the 70s. He won one in the decade of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. We hear so many coaches say kids have changed, and you know whether that's true or not. To do it over 4 different decades, that's really amazing.
Fullerton in 79 and 84. Also spent 3 years at Illinois with a pair of Big Ten titles. Here's ball 4 to Michael McCann.
When the Texas job came open, Tom, every name under the sun was a candidate, right?
Yeah.
John Savage, Pat Casey, Paul Maneri, Kevin O'Sullivan.
Tim Corbin.
Yeah, David Pierce was the name under the radar. And to me, it turned out perfectly for the University of Texas. This is absolutely the right person for this job.
And just about every name that you just mentioned got a raise out of it.
Did you get a raise out of it?
No, you didn't mention my name.
It's
Ford fouls one off. Lance Ford's been a great story. He grew up on Augie Garrido's Texas Longhorn teams, coming out of Kerrville-Tivy High School. Dreamed of playing for Texas as far back as a 4-year-old. On his recruiting visit, they slipped him into a uniform for his photo shoot in September. He was there the same weekend the football team beat San Jose State 56-0, and he stopped, telling a reporter, I stopped and looked at myself in the mirror with a Texas uniform on and just knew this was going to be the right place for me. Nice breaking ball for a strike. He was anxious to get an offer for Texas, from Texas, I should say, but Notre Dame was the first to offer him. And then they gave him a deadline. Mike Aoki's team said, listen, we need an answer from you or we're going to recruit your same position. He rolled the dice. Came up burnt orange. He won. Texas wasn't going to see him until a week later. They watched him play, offered him a chance as an invited walk-on.
Well, maybe the football viewing experience won't be as fun for him at Texas as it would have been at Notre Dame, Tom. But,
coming from the Notre Dame guy.
But the baseball experience, you can't beat it at Texas, right?
Chopper to the left side. Oviedo has it go off the glove.
Good work, Duke. Good work, Duke. Ball behind you. Ball behind you. On the bag.
Ford's a good runner. This would have been a tough play for Oviedo regardless, but as soon as it's not picked cleanly, the play is over.
El Rulo to hit. Infield single for Lance Ford is his second hit of the night. And back to the top of the order in Duke Ellis.
This is a big out for Rudis. He's done a really nice job settling things down. Get himself out of this inning. Admirable job for the freshman here.
What do you think's going through Kirk Sarlos's mind?
He's thinking not a great day to be the pitching coach. Be better if it was 7-1 the other way. Now, again, we mentioned it. Kirk Sarlos, that's a future Division I head coach right there. Elite recruiter, tremendous with the pitchers, former big leaguer. Every time there's a big job that comes open in college baseball, Kirk Sarlos's name is right in the middle of it. But again, the situation here at TCU is so great that he's chosen to stay.
30th pitch of the night from reliever Matt Rudis with 2 on and 2 out. Milbauer on the right, Deion Henderson on the left. Three and 0.
Again, Tom, the numbers for Texas's hitters, not glorious, but they're going to come up now that their schedule's starting to be a little bit more normal, and instead of playing top 10 teams every week, these are good hitters.
And there's a walk to load the bases. Somebody needs to tell Kirk Sarlos a joke. I nominate you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would not encourage that to be done in this huddle right here.
This will be Texas's 4th at bat with the bases loaded so far tonight, and they're 1 for 1 with 3 runs scored thanks to 2 walks. You mentioned the TCU bullpen and the opportunities that are in front of some of these arms, and this is the day to get that opportunity.
Yeah, it's there for the taking right now, and again, there's not been great strike throwing by TCU tonight, and I think that's going to aggravate Kirk Saarloos more than anything, is just not being competitive in the strike zone.
Rudis has worked up a lather. Now he's got to face Eric Kennedy, who is 2 for 2. Pair of singles, a walk, and 3 runs scored. This will be his 25th pitch of the inning.
This stuff for Rudis, I mean, it's a low to mid 90s fastball with a breaking ball with depth. He has good stuff.
Rudis retired the first 2 batters he faced this inning, Hibbler and Shaw, via strikeout. Then a walk, a single, and a walk. It ends up placing Michael McCann at third base. Lance Ford at second, and Duke Ellis to load him. Ripped into the right field corner. This will clear the bases. McCann is following Ellis home, and now Ford down the line, and heading into third is Kennedy, and he goes in standing up. Will scramble back with a 3-run triple. Wow.
It's an 0-2 fastball with velocity from Rudis, and watch Kennedy get the bat head to that. Boy, that is a gorgeous left-handed swing. Super simple short swing, gets the barrel to it. This is a player that they are really excited about. He can really run as well, and you end up with a 3-run triple.
Austin Todd looks at the first pitch upstairs. Todd is 2 for 3. This Texas team already with 10 runs across, and we're only in the 5th. It's been a bit of an all or nothing season for TCU when it comes to run differential. It seems like they're either winning by double digits or losing by double digits. And that includes a win against #1 Vanderbilt out in Scottsdale to open the season, a 10-2 victory. For this roster, which features 16 new players, 8 freshmen and 8 transfers. Ten of their 14 wins have been by double digits, and 2 of their 6 losses have been by double digits. Todd sends this one to right, curling towards keeper. It's over his head. Off the base of the wall, Kennedy has scored. Austin Todd will stop at second, content with a double and his 3rd hit of the game. All with 2 outs this frame.
I tell you, Tom, if you're thinking about, first of all, Austin Todd, he's showing you what David Pierce was talking about. He's just a really good-looking hitter. But I think for TCU, it's when you're talented but new, when it's right, it's great. When it's not, it can get ugly.
Texas leads by 10 in the 5th inning, and the Horned Frogs going right back to the bullpen.
Let's see.
Tomorrow, the women's second-round matchups continue at 7 and 9 on ESPN2. Check your local listings for the games in your area. Don't forget you can stream every game live on the ESPN app. UConn's a 2 seed. They got Buffalo tomorrow night at 7, and then Mississippi State and Clemson at 9, among others, including Miami, Arizona State, and Oregon, Indiana at 9 o'clock. Rudis walked 3 in an inning of work, allowed 4 runs. He hands it off to Spencer Arrighetti, freshman out of Katy, Texas, 6'2" right-hander. Eighth appearance for Arrighetti with an ERA nearly 9.5. 7 hits and 6 2/3. Austin Todd is a runner at second after his 3rd hit of the game. Games in progress out west. Oregon leads Arizona State 4-2. Arizona State having a fantastic year, like a handful of teams in the Pac-12, including UCLA, which outslugged Arizona today.
We talked about the top of the Big 12 is really strong. The top of the Pac-12 is elite. You talk about teams like Oregon State, UCLA, and
Zubia rips it into left field. Todd will score. And Zubia's driven in 4 in this one. And how very rude of him to interrupt your Pac-12 storyline.
Yeah, Stanford. I got to throw Stanford in there, too. How rude of Zach Zubia to greet Spencer Arrighetti this way. That is tough sledding. Relief pitcher, true freshman coming in. And that gentleman right there is no way to greet a young arm. Quality bat flip, too, by the way.
Ryan Reynolds, the 9th batter of the inning. Zubia's set a career high with 4 ribbies.
The nice thing for the freshman arms for TCU right now, Tom, is you're going to get some rope. They are, if you're Jim Schlossnagle and Kirk Sarlos, you are going to, there are certain arms you're going to save for game 3 of this series, because this is a huge series win for either club.
Nothing in 2. Texas goes out of conference next week to face Xavier. And TCU will be in the heart of conference play with an odd number of teams in the Big 12. Everybody gets a weekend off. And when you're looking for series wins in the conference, and TCU will host Oklahoma State next week, coming down to the wire, TCU will be at Texas Tech to close the regular season.
That's a tough place to play. That field at Lubbock is really offensive.
Yanked foul. Hello. By the way, that UCLA win against Arizona this afternoon. Garrett Mitchell in the leadoff spot went 2 for 4. A couple of runs scored. Jack Stronach had 3 hits. What makes UCLA so good?
That offense is special. They always pitch. John Savage, the head coach and pitching coach for UCLA, they always can pitch, but this year it's a dynamic offense.
Pitch in the dirt. Almost the opposite of what UCLA put together when they won the College World Series in 2013.
Yeah, really the question for UCLA this year was, would there be enough pitching? And of course there's going to be enough pitching. You know, John Savage is that type of pitching coach, but you think about what UCLA is doing, being #1 in the country, they have been a little injured. Their ace, Ryan Garcia, is just resuming a spot in the rotation this weekend. Their left fielder, Jeremy Idens, has been out.
Lifted to right. Kiefer has plenty of space. Texas sends 9 to the plate in the 5th inning. They put up a big number. It's 12-1 Longhorns.
Let's be honest.
Spin around the globe, release the college baseball landscape. Pac-12 atop the coaches poll. UCLA, Oregon State, and Stanford top 3. Mike Martin's season continues as he closes out a sensational Hall of Fame career in his 40th year, still chasing a national title. And Antoine Duplantis and Jake Mangum are trying to chase down Eddie Furness in the SEC hit record. Defending national champs, second in the country, 14-4 with a tie, faring better than the defending national champs in basketball. Villanova trails Purdue by 24 right now. And then there's Mississippi State. That's an interesting story. First pitch, raked to center, handled by Duke Ellis. One down. And that'll bring Hunter Wolf and Duran to the plate here in a moment. How do you handicap Mississippi State playing in brand new ballpark, the jewel of all of college baseball, the new dude,
new head coach, and Chris Lemonis?
Yep.
They were a hard team to handicap in the preseason because last year's Omaha team was such a bizarre trip to Omaha. I mean, the kids at Mississippi State, that's one of the great all-time runs to Omaha last year, where you lose your head coach in the first week of the season, and they had some really, really low moments, and those kids persevered. And then, of course, JT Ginn is the Dodgers' first-round draft pick last June, and he turns down the Dodgers and millions of dollars to come to Mississippi State. So that
tell me more about that situation, how it developed. I'll make you wait. To third, what a play.
Wow.
Beautiful pickup by Reynolds. 2 down.
Pitching and defense, those are the trademarks here at Texas, but this is a special play. That almost a swinging bunt. You barehanded if you're Ryan Reynolds. Everything about this play, you're throwing on the run, you're having to make a bare hand catch and then throw accurately. Makes it look easy. Gorgeous play.
Little vanilla ice for Josh Watson coming up. He's 1 for 2. So let's go back to how Mississippi State signed one of the best players in last year's draft.
Yeah, Ginn was a high school All-American. He's the 30th pick overall by the Dodgers, and those kids always sign. You're a team's first rounder. They don't just do that nonchalant. And you know, word is he turned down over $2 million from the Dodgers because he wants to come to Mississippi State for 2 years. He's going to be a draft eligible sophomore, so he will get back in the draft a little bit quicker. But what it did for Mississippi State, it gives them, I mean, JT Ginn's been their Saturday guy since day one, and he has been dominant. The best compliment I could give you, another assistant coach in the SEC West over text said this: "It makes me physically ill that JT Ginn came to school." I don't know if there's a better compliment you can get than that.
Watson chases it in the dirt. That'll finish it up. It's a 12-1 Texas lead over TCU.
Top of the 6th, Texas with a big lead, 12-1 over TCU. Pivotal game 2 of this series. New catcher for the Horned Frogs. The veteran Zach Humphreys will take over for Isola. One of the few veterans on this TCU club, a veteran of the runs to Omaha, was a true freshman in 2017 at the College World Series. Humphreys usually plays against left-handers, but he'll get a little extra work in this game. Eric Getty remains in the game for TCU. Humphreys has not gotten as much playing time this year for TCU because Isola has been so good, but this is a key veteran player for TCU. Again, one of the few players that was part of the Omaha runs.
Hey, Runes, did you know that they sell beer at this ballpark now?
I did. That's an interesting development.
Oh, I think it's great for the fans, but unintended consequences. They're lacking in capacity in the relief department in the ballpark now.
Ah, that does change the needs of the facility, doesn't it?
0-2 pitch is in the dirt. Hibbler 0 for 2 in this one. Why is it that when schools experiment with alcohol sales at sporting events that they start with baseball?
That's an excellent question. I would say it's enough. We have enough fans in college baseball to make it a viable experiment, but not so many that if it's not good, it gets way out of hand.
Yeah. I thought it was the Kyle Peterson factor.
That's an interesting angle.
Hibler 0 for 2, a couple of strikeouts and a sac fly. Why the change to Zach Humphrey behind the plate at this point in the game?
Well, remember, he's really playing against left-handers. And the bad news there is whoever's the platoon person versus lefties is going to get less at bats. And Jim Schlesinger will tell you that Zach Humphreys is a really important player for TCU. And this is a chance to get him more ABs. Whatever TCU is going to become as a club, Zach Humphreys is going to be an important part of that at the end of this year.
Full count now. I missed that part of the conversation with the viewers. Did you discuss his exit velocity being up?
Did not. I'd like to save the data part of the conversation for you, Tomas.
Good. I'm big on data. But you're the guy with the limited data plan. That one's yanked foul. What's your exit velo on that one? Lots?
Irrelevant. It's 1,000 feet foul. It's like the catcher that wants to talk about his pop time, but the throw went into right center field. It's not. Accuracy does matter.
Johnny Reiser's been different. Handles that one. What do you got, Runes?
We got the women's championship continues tomorrow at noon. Number 1 Louisville taking on number 8 Michigan. You can catch that game on ESPN2 and streaming live on the ESPN app.
A lot of drama when UConn women got a 2 seed and Louisville nailed down a 1. You think Gino Auriemma is ever hurting for motivation to win a national championship? Pitches away to Tate Shaw. Pardon me, Sam Bertelson getting his first at bat.
Gino Auriemma is a Philly guy. Did you know that, Tom?
Funny you would work that in. Mainline's not too happy tonight. Villanova's about to be ousted by Purdue.
Just trying to share the titles, you know.
What do you got on the quarterback situation with the Eagles?
We got one.
You happy with it?
Stud. North Dakota State. Go Bison. Right, there is no situation.
They've gone final now. Purdue with the victory. 87-61.
Wow. I had Temple in the Sweet 16. Speaking of Philly, how they doing?
1 and Dunfeed. 2-2 now.
Me and Fran Dunphy went to the same high school, Tom. How could I not make that pick?
I mean, the mustache is enough.
Oh, it's a great mustache. There's no doubt.
Fran Dunphy and Phil Martelli both done. Philly hoops losing icons.
Yep. Legends in the Big Five.
Bertelson goes down swinging. 2 down. And that brings Michael McCann to the plate.
I wonder if this is Michael McCann's last at bat. You would think David Pierce would want to get him some relief.
They're high on the freshman backstop Caston Peter, who would be available.
Michael McCann, throw the numbers out. You could argue he's the MVP of this club, because when you lose your starting catcher DJ Petrinsky and you've got a really young pitching staff, that is a formula for disaster. And McCann has come in and solidified that. It's been huge for Texas this season, because again, with all these new faces, you lose David Hamilton, you lose DJ Petrinsky, things can get fragile in a hurry.
An opportunity for Gunther, and into the camera well, and a hard spill. Texas athletic training staff there to look after him. If that were Lucan Baker, he would have broken the ground.
Aye.
Into the trash can ruins.
I'm going to flag the trash can. A little cheap shot right there, right? The railing took him low, and the trash can hit him high. Isn't there some type of foul there?
Yeah, it's a high-low. Butch Jones turnover trash can. Stealing the spotlight tonight here in the 6th inning in Fort Worth. Maybe you just went in there looking for Oscar the Grouch. The flux capacitor take it back to the Fort Worth Regional in 2014. Boomer White with a go-ahead RBI single in inning number 22 of Game 2 of their regional. TCU held on to beat Sam Houston State 3-2 in a game that lasted 6 hours and 55 minutes. Boomer also provided a walk-off hit in their first matchup with Sam Houston State. I talked to him today. He said, you know, you play a 22-inning game. By the time you get to about inning 16, there's no care in the world. You feel like you're playing with house money because everything is so weird that's happening on the field. You're going to the bullpen for guys who haven't thrown all season, and they're pumping strikes on the opponent.
You think about how fragile that is, Tom. I mean, what if TCU loses that game? That was in year 1 of the 4 straight Omahas.
Yeah.
Because usually in a regional format, when 2 teams play a 20-inning game, both teams get eliminated because they're playing basically 2 more games than everybody else.
Yeah. And speaking of elimination, David Pierce got thrown out of that game in the top of the 21st inning. Twice in that game, Sam Houston State had runners called out for breaking up a double play, each time with a runner crossing the plate. And David Pierce had seen enough of it in the 21st. He and his catcher got run from the game at that point. And then Boomer, who would later be the SEC Player of the Year transferring to Texas A&M, came up with another game winner. Bertelsen handles a pop-up. And there's 1 down. And talking with David Pierce before the game today and his coaching staff, you know, they've all been together for a long time, going back to the Sam Houston State days. And they're recapping their visits here to Lupton, and by their count, they're looking at 5 or 6 walk-off losses here at Lupton, and that can get on you a little bit.
Yeah, that doesn't make you super excited to come back.
Jay Gunther at the plate. Oh for 1 with a walk. Nice snag once again by Ford. Oh, pardon me, got by him and gets all the way to the fence. Gunther headed for third. The throw there. Got him. My crystal ball said they were going to get the out anyway. I was just 2 bases ahead. My bad.
And, you know, it's a beautiful piece of hitting, Tom, but we talked about the growing pains with a brand new team. So many new faces, and this is as good of a player as Jake Gunther is. That's an absolute no-go. Down 12 run. Your run means nothing. A beautiful defensive play.
There's a reason this song's playing. Dean Frew is the pinch hitter. Junior from Sydney, Australia, transferred in from Hill College. And in for a strike. Nothing in 2 now to Frew. Hill College, oddly enough, has had a couple of different Australians come through there over the last few years. And unless I'm mistaken, 2 years ago, TCU had one of them. Breaking ball in the dirt. First at bat for Frew, who's replacing Austin Henry, who was 0 for 2. Got him swinging. And that'll close the 6th. We go to the 7th. All Texas. Longhorns lead at 12-1. Wholesale changes for TCU going into the 7th inning, including a new pitcher, right-hander Dawson Barr, from Flower Mound, Texas, 6'1" right-hander. 5th appearance of the season for Barr. He's only thrown 3 1/3 innings. Has walked twice as many as he has struck out. Opponents hitting .250 against him. He'll start with the bottom of the Texas batting order. Jim Schlossnagle using this as a teaching moment. Bryce Regan will hit for Texas here.
Yeah, I think that's all about, Tom. It's 12-1. You can't get us back in the game by yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's really what that is. I mean, Jake Gunther's a great player who gives great effort. And Jim Schlossnagle is saying it's not about effort. It's about you got to trust the other 8 guys. You can't get back in this thing just by you doing it. And that's a very common thing, you know, kids just trying to do too much when they're behind. And this is a new group that's going to learn to come from behind together. They're going to learn everything new together.
And that was an issue that we discussed with this TCU coaching staff. It's, you know, junior college, we talk a lot about the freedoms that you have as a junior college player. There are very few limitations on how many hours you can be on the field. It is as much baseball as you want to play, but there are also, with those freedoms, a lot of freedoms within the white lines, within the game itself. There's not a whole lot of talk about approach or taking pitches or moving guys over. And so therefore, you kind of have to break them in as junior college guys to learn how to play the team game and play the style that you want to play.
Well, the junior college players are older and they've played more baseball, to your point, so they're more certain of their beliefs in the game. And, you know, it's not always that I'm right and you're wrong. I mean, Jake Gunther comes from Sacramento City College. That's maybe the most famous junior college baseball program in the country. And, you know, I'm sure he has great conviction on what he believes in the game. But, you know, of course, Jim Schlossnagle's point is well taken. It's 12-1.
Soft liner will drop for a base hit for Bryce Regan. His first hit as he replaced Lance Ford in the lineup. Ford had a 2-hit night.
It's interesting, Tom. You know, I love that Jake Gunther was kind of fighting back, even though he absolutely had he had a losing hand.
Yeah.
There's no way to sell making an out at third base down 12-1. There's no winning that.
It's okay to double down against 2 face cards?
Well, you know, he will learn he's not going to win that argument versus Jim Schlossnagle, but where I'm going with this, I like that the kid has the confidence and the conviction to want to be right there.
Yeah.
Of course, you can't win every battle, and that was a horrendous hill to choose to die on right there. But I like the conviction.
Duke Ellis has drawn 3 walks in the leadoff spot thus far tonight, and he's ahead in the count now 2-0 with Regan over at first base. And Kirk Sarlos is going to come out and have a word with the reliever Dawson Barr.
It's interesting with a freshman when, you know, a coach may challenge a freshman. I think the freshmen tend to feel like, I'm a freshman, I must be wrong. The junior college player many times comes in the conversation thinking they're right, and that's the beauty of that player too.
Well, you brought up a great point. That's the number of games played. You come in as a JUCO guy, haven't played more than 100 games at the collegiate level. So there have been there's a larger sample size for him to choose from. Where high school players brand new to this.
Yep.
By the way, in the Pac-12 tonight, Stanford eked out a 7-6 victory over Utah. Stanford's one of those teams that you're talking about out west, could be in line for a national seed, and would be as of now. 2-0 pitch is swung on a miss. David Esker's done a fantastic job in Palo Alto.
No question. I mean, has done a phenomenal job there. He's a David Esker, the longtime head coach at Cal. He's a Stanford alum, was on their 1987 national title team. That is a really, really good team Stanford has.
3 balls and a strike to Duke Ellis. Texas played a 4-game series against Stanford, won one of them.
That was, you know, Texas, LSU in many polls was the preseason #1. And the LSU takes that team to Texas, that veteran club, and Texas sweeps them. Really made a big statement. But then, of course, Texas the next weekend lost 3 out of 4 to Stanford.
This one poked to the left side and gets past the glove of Oviedo. First hit of the game for Ellis, who has reached base safely 4 times tonight. 2 on and nobody out for Eric Kennedy. Kyle Stowers for Stanford had a 12th inning walk-off 2-out double for the 7-6 win for the Cardinals at Sunken Diamond.
We talk about the schedule Texas played. Talking to the third base coach for Texas, Sean Allen, before the game, he kind of said, you know, as the hitting coach, I'm all for to play great teams and get us ready. But, and there's Philip Miller on the right-hand side. But he's like, I wouldn't mind if every arm we faced wasn't throwing 95 miles an hour. Like, really hard to keep these guys upright when everybody looks like a first-round pick.
That was part of the conversation I had with Zach Zubia. He said, listen, Nick Lodolo's really good, like really good, maybe the best guy we faced. But these coaches know, like, we've already faced those types of arms this season.
These two guys have done such a good job on the recruiting trail, Tom. And, you know, again, they've been with David Pierce at Sam Houston, at Tulane, 7 years together. I think that's been a real key to the great start that Texas is. I mean, think about David Pierce takes over at Texas. They almost win the Long Beach Regional 2 years ago against a really good Long Beach team. Then they go to Omaha last year, and then this year off to a great start. I mean, there's been no step backwards at all.
1-1 to Kennedy. Sliced foul. And Phil Haig has been with this staff for a long time as well. Was a volunteer at Tulane with Pierce. They went to back-to-back NCAA tournaments. Was a volunteer coach at Sam Houston State prior to that. Little chopper to the left side. And safe at first is Eric Kennedy. I learned something new about Phil Haig today. Haig closed his college playing career at Florida International, and they went to the NCAA tournament. But before that, he was a dual sport athlete in Illinois. He was a backup quarterback on their Rose Bowl team in Illinois. That was in 2008. Fighting Illini appeared in their first Rose Bowl since 1984. He backed up Juice Williams. Mike Loxley was the offensive coordinator for that Illinois team. He's now the new head coach of Maryland after leaving Alabama. Austin Todd on the ground. Dean Frew steps on second, throws to first, and TCU turns 2, but it gets Regan across to add to the Longhorns' tally.
I'll tell you, Phil Haig has done a really good job with the Texas pitching staff, and you got a lot of young arms here. If I'm David Pierce, the thing I'd be worried about, we watched Phil Haig throw BP before the game, Tom. I mean, he's signable. I mean, it's 6'4" lefty throwing 92 in batting practice with down angle. Maybe that's why the Texas hitters' confidence wasn't spectacular. BP's fairly rough.
Pretty smooth, huh?
It was smooth. The ball jumping out of his hand. But in all seriousness, this is a spectacular coaching staff David Pierce has put together, which tells you that David Pierce is a really good guy to work for, to keep a staff together like this for 7 years. Because these are, you know, Sean Allen, Phil Miller, Phil Haig, these are talented guys that are going to have opportunities to go other places, maybe be a head coach. It's hard to keep a great staff together that long.
0-2 to Zubia, misses.
Man, if Zach Zubia is starting to get hot this weekend, which it appears to be the case, that is a major development for this Texas offense.
That one squeezes by Humphreys and gets to the backstop. Ellis won't have a chance to advance. Big one earlier today in the classic city of Athens, Georgia, and the Georgia Bulldogs won again. They shut out LSU 2-0. Be a rubber match tomorrow between the two. Strike 3 called. Zubia retired for the first time tonight. Time to step into the stretch. Texas up by a dozen.
So Jardy. Blair Henley is a veteran on this staff with not a lot of veteran presence. He was dynamite tonight. Fastball was excellent. The slider, that sinking fastball. Just an outstanding performance for the Longhorns. Blair Henley, he's the junior, the leader of this staff, really stepping forward in a big game 2.
And so they make a move to the bullpen. They bring in Jack Neely, not the character from the 1987 movie Air America with Mel Gibson and Robert Downey Jr.
Not that character.
Not him. The only run Henley allowed came to the first batter of the game, Hunter Wolf, who walked and scored on a double play.
Heck of a night for Blair Henley. That's a big, important start right there.
So Jack Neely, 6'9", 220, freshman from San Antonio. His grandpa played football at Texas. 6th appearance of the season.
You can see the numbers, Tom. It's a lot of everything. Height, strikeouts, walks, velocity, you name it.
You know we have a pinch hitter. And I'm going to let you take the pronunciation.
I'm going to pass.
You can't.
I have a pass left.
What is this, Uno? You're playing a skip card?
Yes.
Pinch hitter, Brad Chernieski.
Well done.
I called Vanna. I bought a vowel. Chernieski goes down swinging. And the new catcher is the one that handled it, so we've got an entirely new battery. Neely and Caston Peter. Does your scorebook look like mine?
Yeah, fairly messy. You nailed Chernieski, by the way. Well done, Mike.
Oh, I stayed up all night studying that one. Adam Oviedo at the plate. Vanderbilt won the series with Florida. Doors handled him 14-4 today. Kevin O'Sullivan won the College World Series 2 years ago with a team that was loaded in the pitching department, and now he's got one of the youngest squads among ranked teams in the country. Bertelsen takes this one himself. 2 down.
You know, it's an ugly start for the Gators to SEC play, 1-5. I would say this, though, Tom, I'm not ready to jump off the Gators yet. It's not the teams we've been used to, but there's a lot of really young talent. It's just an extremely young team. I'll tell you where I'm concerned about the Gators. I'm really concerned about the defense. It's not nearly the clean defensive team that we're used to at Florida.
Connor Shepard at the plate. It's a Florida team over the years that has been among the nation's best fielding teams.
I think that's going to be a really fun part of this college baseball season, Tom, is I've set the over-under at 5.5 of teams that will be ranked #1 at some point.
Wow, I had that same number on your total number of bucket hats through one regional.
Yeah. Purchased or worn?
Yes.
Yes.
Steven Scott had a grand slam for Vandy in the 4th inning as they turned it around. The Commodores hit for a .351 average in the 3-game series. He outscored the Gators 34-6.
Yep. You catch Vandy on the right day, that's the best offense in America.
Okay, so who else would be in the running for the top spot in the polls if that's your over-under?
Vandy, UCLA, Stanford, Oregon State, the 3 Pac-12 teams. I'll throw Texas Tech in there from the Big 12. To me, from the SEC, you've got Vandy, Mississippi State, and LSU are all ranked #1 caliber clubs at some point in time.
Into left center. A 1-2-3 frame. We head to the 8th. Reynolds, Reagan, Bertelsen, the law firm coming up.
Let's see.
Tonight's Sports Center with John Anderson and Steve Levy is live right after Top Rank Boxing. They'll have every must-see play from John Morant's 28 points, and UFC heavyweight champ Daniel Cormier joins him to break down Pettis Thompson. It's Sports Center after boxing and streaming live on the ESPN app. Have you ever been to the Stockyards, Mike Rooney?
Have not. What am I missing?
We got plenty of time to get you there.
Let's do it.
This game has kind of felt like the Chisholm Trail, hasn't it?
Stand by. Googling Chisholm Trail.
Ball and a strike to Ryan Reynolds. I'm a little bummed out you're not a Deadpool fan. I think there's only been like 15 of those. But in terms of excitement, you know, the Ryan Reynolds character had a great line. He said it was like Yakov Smirnoff opening for the Spin Doctors at the Iowa State Fair. Would you go to that show?
I feel like I just pulled a hamstring listening to that. That was like a 3-tiered analogy right there.
Yeah, that's the guy.
I like it.
Dawson Barr with his 2nd strikeout. Here's Mason Hibbler. Mason Hibbler, coming out of Cypress Ranch High School, had 0 offers. But talking with his Texas coaching staff and David Pierce, this is a self-made baseball player. He's a throwback kind of guy. And he's versatile enough to play a lot of different spots. And after spending some time at Odessa Junior College, ended up in Austin at the University of Texas. Up the middle. Barr's got it. 2 down.
Hibbler's hitting .220 right now, Tom, but him solidifying shortstop has been massive for Texas. That's been one concern, is once David Hamilton went out, this was a team really searching for the answer at shortstop, and that's just not a position where you can fake it. If you have a team that's struggling in the middle infield, that can really create bad momentum. And Hibbler has come in and really solidified that for David Pierce.
Sam Bertelsen at the plate now for Texas. Was there ever a President Bertelsen?
I'm sure of a company at some point.
Well, Texas has the other 3 United States presidents playing for him: Reagan, Ford, and Kennedy.
Well played. Look at you.
Maybe a Bertelsen coming up. Who was the president in '24? I think it could have been Bertelsen if you didn't watch the show.
didn't watch the show.
Yeah, so it was Bertelsen.
All right, there you go.
Hang with me. You know, for someone nicknamed the Professor, you should probably be on top of that.
Well, while you're watching all these shows, I'm studying college baseball. So that's...
Good point.
Come on, Sam. Come on, Sam.
But I am disappointed I don't know what the Chisholm Trail is. I got to get on. I got to be better than that.
Well, that's how we moved livestock across this country with the cattle drives back in the day, my friend.
Yep.
Bertelsen reaches with a 2-out walk. That'd be President Bertelsen to you. And Caston Peter to the plate. Freshman from Houston out of Stratford High School. Was a 4-year starter in high school. Graduated #1 in his class. Was a co-valedictorian. I guarantee you he knows what the Chisholm Trail is.
I'm certain of it. No question. First in his class. Gosh, that's impressive. I was not first in my class. Were you first in your class, Tom?
Academically?
Yeah, that's
what
first in the class means.
Beautiful play coming off the mound by Barr, and that'll close the Texas half of the 8th. Fielding your position and crack open a book to learn about the Chisholm Trail. Fresh off the Chisholm Trail, here's your game summary. It was a cattle drive from the get-go when Texas got 2 across in the first and a Zach Zubia long ball. They've scored 6 runs with the bases loaded out of their 13, and the 1-for-4 hitters having a night. 10 for 15, 9 runs and 10 driven in. There you go. That fit in nicely on the Chisholm Trail.
That bunch of high tops right there.
I think the pair on the far left, those are called the Mosleys. President Bertelsen's moved over to third. And we've got a couple other spring training like changes for the Texas Longhorns defensively. Lace to left and a base hit for Andrew Kiefer. Hunter Wolf with the most appropriate walk-up music for anyone in college baseball. A little Duran Duran. Hungry like the wolf.
If I could paint with a broad brush, Tom, not enough 80s music in college baseball walk-up songs.
Well, Professor, what would your walk-up song be?
I like it instrumental. I would do AC/DC, Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. It's got a great instrumental. Get the stadium a little juiced up. What do you have, Tom?
Magic Stick.
Interesting.
Ball and a strike to Hunter Wolf. Our producer, Scott Gustafson, would prefer some Toto for his walk-up music.
Oh, that's tremendous.
Specifically, he'd prefer to have the Weezer version of Africa.
I think that might be a misquote right there, Tom.
Well, he's a big Weezer fan. Gave me a ride in his rental car yesterday in his Datsun. It's all 80s all the time, so I think you're right. I haven't seen a Datsun since '86. Hunter Wolf is 0 for 2 with a walk. Was that a sheep sound effect coming out of the Lupton Stadium speakers?
I believe it was. I did not know that was part of the arsenal.
You didn't know it was on the Hot Clicks keyboard?
Did not know that.
92 on the black, and Wolf goes down looking. This is the song.
It's a good ballpark song right there.
Yes. Josh Watson is 1 for 3. He was rolling in his 5.0 in the first inning when he picked up his lone hit of the game.
Jack Neely of Texas doing a really nice job. These freshman arms for Texas, there's no question that this program is going to continue to surge under David Pierce, but the freshman arms are really the next wave for these guys.
Crack of the bat to Cameron Fields in center. 2 down. Professor promo.
I got you, Tom. Tomorrow, the women's second-round matchups continue, 2 p.m. on ESPN2. Check your local listings for the game in your area. You can stream every game live on the ESPN app. Some of those 2 p.m. games, Texas A&M Marquette, South Carolina, Florida State, Mizzou, and Iowa, Tom.
Sophie Cunningham out of Rockbridge High School, an All-American for the Missouri Tigers.
It's your high school, is it not?
Saw some Rockbridge folks out last night here in Fort Worth.
RB. Mascot, please.
Bruins.
Weak.
Would you prefer West Plains Zizzer as your mascot?
Yes, very much so.
Fields puts it away, as long as it's not a Cupid. No runs, a hit, 1 left on. We go to the 9th. Texas will even the series. Our tape room put together a video montage to show you how exactly this shellacking is unfolded. It started with a Zach Zuby, a 2-run home run in the first inning, a line shot. Fast forward to the 5th with 2 outs. Texas put on a wild rally, couple of bases loaded walks. Eric Kennedy with a 3-run triple. Austin Todd drove in a run with a double, and the Longhorns were off and running. Todd would come home on a Zach Zuby single. RISP vastly improved today for Texas versus their numbers last night when they were 0 for 6 and 6 for 14 2-out hitting, including 8 2-out RBI. And they'll face a new pitcher, Notary Republic. James, 6'3", right-hander out of Westminster, Colorado, was a 35th round pick in the draft. I think he carries a stamp with him. 5th appearance.
Do you think, I'm guessing, Tom, that's not the first time people have come at him with that, right?
No, he's been hearing, well, I was going to say he's been hearing that since the playgrounds in 4th grade, but I don't think 4th graders are aware of Notary Publics.
Yeah.
So probably middle of junior high.
Maybe it's more adults coming at him with it.
Could be, yeah. Bad dad jokes.
Yep. Really, he's been the victim of many a bad dad joke. But a Colorado kid, and that's been a good recruiting area for TCU. Caleb Sloan, who's out for the year, they thought could be either a rotation guy or their closer. Jake Eisler, also a Colorado kid.
Well, you don't have to beat out the Buffaloes for him, right?
That's correct. The Buffaloes are erroneously not sponsoring a baseball program right now.
In the same company as schools like Wisconsin and Syracuse, Iowa State. To third, beautiful backhanded pickup. Bobby Goodlow with the throw over to first. 1 down. In Wisconsin, Runes, they had baseball for over 100 years before it folded in the mid-90s.
Good players in the state of Wisconsin, too. There's, remember Jaron Kendall from Vandy a couple years ago, 1st-round pick. That's a Wisconsin kid. Gavin Lux, a 1st-rounder out of the Dodgers took a couple years ago. That's a good baseball state for as cold as it is.
Former Arkansas star and big league coach Eric Hinsky from Apple Valley. Here's Cameron Fields. Sophomore from Garland, Texas.
He has had a really good year as the back of the bullpen guy. He's really their Friday night closer. Big arm with a vicious slider, Cam Fields.
At a Lakeview Centennial. He was also starting quarterback in high school. off of the glove of Kiefer, tried for a sliding catch. Fields last night did not have a great inning out of the bullpen, and talking with the Texas coaching staff, they said, listen, this is the guy we go to. He was able to shut down Texas Tech, one of the best offenses in college baseball, and so it really unfolded perfectly with Bryce Elder going 8. Then you turn it over to Fields and you feel great about it. And they say we would do the same thing all over again. We didn't think we did anything wrong. But Fields had some control issues, and then it turned into a walk-off winner and some Lupton magic for TCU.
A lot of free passes. Oviedo right there, if you're wondering, that's a strange-looking game-winning hit. It's because Texas had gone to 5 infielders. And for Kennedy, just a different look when there's only 2 outfielders out there and not able to corral that. And boy, that was a huge win for TCU because that game was all Texas. 2-0 in the 9th with Cam Fields. You're thinking Texas is going to win 99 out of 100 of those games.
They'll win 99 out of 100 in these, up 13-1 in the 9th. Bryson Smith getting a chance to hit for Texas. Rubber match of the series tomorrow at 1 o'clock locally. Brandon Williamson will pitch against Coy Cobb.
On paper, ironically, you'd give the advantage to TCU. Williamson, a highly touted junior college transfer, 6'6" lefty who's been dominant this year. Coy Cobb is a very talented freshman for Texas, but has not been as dominant as Williamson so far. And I guess the other good news for TCU is your bullpen is fresh.
1-2-3 frame work by James Notary. Heart of the order due up for TCU. Goodlow, Few, and the other guy. 15th ranked Texas trying to even the series with TCU. We go to the home half of the 9th. 13 runs, 13 hits for Texas. A run on 6 of them for TCU. Donnie Diaz, junior from Kingsville, Texas, at 6'2", 220, was a 23rd round pick of the Red Sox 2 years ago. 6th appearance in the year. 7 strikeouts and 6 1/3. Not a great night for TCU, but I will say that the DJ has been on top of his game as Bobby Goodlow comes to the plate. Bryce Femmel got the win for Oregon State tonight over Cal. He improved to 4-0. Jake Mulholland picked up his 4th save.
Good runner.
Adley Rutschman's only hitting .429 now. He went 1 for 4. His OPS, I think, is still hovering around 1,200.
Crazy. That's a series. You've got Andrew Vaughn and Adley Rutschman, who probably are going to be the first 2 picks in the draft as hitters out of the Pac-12.
Vaughn hitting .400 after an 0 for 2.
Defending Golden Spikes Award winner.
We haven't seen a whole lot of sophomore Golden Spikes Award winners, have we?
How about Vaughn last year had 23 home runs and just 18 strikeouts? Fairly good.
Goodlow watches it miss.
That
and he
said,
drews a leadoff walk.
Tom, I don't know how you could not draft Adley Rutschman. Switch hitting catcher with power, hits for average, great defender, and there's videotape of him tackling Christian McCaffrey in a college football game.
Can't say that about many baseball players.
No.
Here's Dean Frew. There's a pretty good track record of Golden Spikes Award winners having great success at the next level as Dean Frew stands in. They played the Australian song for him. Remember, Cam Warner was on his team a couple years ago. He's from Canberra, Australia. Frew 0 for 1. Andrew Benintendi won it in 15. Chris Bryant in 13. Mike Zunino before him. Prior winners in order: Trevor Bauer, Bryce Harper, Steven Strasburg, Buster Posey, David Price, Tim Lincecum, Alex Gordon, Jared Weaver, Ricky Weeks. I mean, you go all the way back.
Wow.
And that's as good an indicator of professional success as you can find. To the left side, Regan goes to second for one. Smith on to first, just a hair late. And Frew reaches. That'll bring Chernieski to the plate. Bob Horner won the first Golden Spikes Award back in 1978, and we were talking, and that's when he was at Arizona State. And we were talking earlier about great Arizona State sluggers, including a guy like Horner or Barry Bonds, and none of them did what the guy there is doing.
Yeah, Spencer Torkelson last year, 25 home runs as a true freshman. No true freshman had ever led the country in home runs. So that's another, he'll be a first-round pick next year in 2020. The Pac-12 does have some high-end talent this year, there's no question.
Brad Chernieski looking for his first hit as a Horned Frog. True freshman out of the Chicagoland area. And of course, that's in your backyard, and you're telling me that that's a big ballpark that Arizona State's playing in too.
Yeah, it's a spring training facility. It's Phoenix Municipal Stadium, the A's old park, and so the spring training facilities always have super deep fences. It's a way for pro teams to evaluate their outfielders in the spring training. Now, that said, Tom, Arizona State did move the fences in this year, which might account for Hunter Bishop, who has 14 home runs already for Arizona State. There's another kid having an awesome year, junior out of Arizona State. He's on track for 35 home runs. That would be good.
Wow. Be like Chris Bryant good.
31 home runs with the dead bats.
2-2, 92 upstairs to Chernieski.
Dead bats and the dead baseballs, I should say.
That one to the backstop. And they called it a foul tip.
Don't see that all the time. A foul tip on the catcher got crossed up. A lot going on there. Catcher's thinking breaking, but oh my gosh.
I don't think he tipped it anyway. Not that that's relevant at this juncture.
Home plate umpire Harry Greer saying to Caston Peter, hey, whatever happens, you can't bail like that. Like, you don't leave your wingman, which would be me, the home plate umpire.
Chernieski goes down swinging, and there's 2 down. Well, Peter also reached for that with his bare hand.
It almost felt like he put up 2 hands to protect himself.
You got a lot of protective equipment on. Everywhere in your body except for your right hand. Adam Oviedo looks at a breaking ball for a strike.
Yes, throwing a good breaking ball there too.
And he repeats it.
I like it.
TCU won first game of the series in dramatic fashion last night with a walk-off win. No Lupton magic tonight for the Horned Frogs. Down to their last strike. Oviedo's grounded out twice and he struck out once. And he'll strike out to finish this one off. Diaz, one of 3 Texas pitchers to hold TCU to just a run on 6 hits. 13, 13-1 for Texas, 1-6-0 for TCU. Hanley goes at 3-1, ISO 3-2 the loss. Time of game 3:10. Texas looked good.
Yeah, another series at the top of this league that's going to come down to a game 3. A lot of depth in the league this year.
So that's our final from Fort Worth tonight. For the professor, Mike Rooney, our entire ESPN crew, I'm Tom Hart. Up next, the top wrestlers in the country take to the mat. It's the NCAA Wrestling Championship.
Hi, everybody.